Hey, good cat people, what is going on? You are checking out a new RCWR show, July 12th, 2021, Monday night. What's good? What's good, y'all? Hope your weekend was pretty solid. And if it was a little bit too hot in your respected neck of the woods, you were able to enjoy that nice, cool shade somewhere. Get your nice, cool, refreshing drink on and everything. My weekend was fantastic. No complaints at all. I pretty much took it easy. I actually had worked extra a couple of days this week, but I didn't mind it because honestly, I'm at a point right now. Give me as much money as I can because I'm trying to save up as much as I can going into Awesome Con next month, but then getting ready for the fall semester classes because I've got about at least 4 to 5 classes I'm trying to take. So that's going to be a pretty interesting, hectic schedule on top of being vice president of my student body council and all that. So yeah, heavy plate that I got on on my hands right now. But you know what? I'm up for the task. So I'm up for the task. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. From those of you that's tuning in live, or as usual, you guys will be checking it out on demand and on the downloads. Appreciate that tremendously. We're definitely going to talk about this pre-taped episode of Monday Night Raw that we got went off the air not that long ago. I hope by now you guys do know that it was pre-taped and not for nothing, but and I had totally had blanked out about it too because I thought Raw was going to be live tonight, but then somebody reminded me, no, Lee, this was taped last week. And I'm going, oh, you know what? That's right, because I was actually part of the final live Raw Thunderdome experience last week, and there was a couple of things that we got to see that was exclusive for us that you guys had saw that panned out tonight and everything. But I gotta tell you, it was rather amazing yet funny at the same time how WWE had pretty much recycled us as virtual fans from last week's live Thunderdome Raw and used us for this week's show. I'll give you a perfect example, and you could pretty much see me a couple of times at the very beginning of the show. You could see me at one point, and if you just really paid attention to the fans in the virtual seats, not so much looking for me, but just really pay attention to the reactions of all the fans in the virtual seats there for this episode, it wasn't matching up to what you were seeing going about in the ring. It wasn't matching up. And perfect example, I remember the whole Bobby Lashley Xavier Woods match that we got tonight. If you really home in on that one and you're looking at the people's reactions, that's a prime example of, yeah, that's not syncing up. And I remember when I wasn't even looking for myself. I just happened to see myself. I go, oh, hey. And I saw the reactions that I was making with my hands and all. And at that particular point, I was making my hand reactions and all for Drew McIntyre. Because I remember when Drew McIntyre was getting ready to come out from last week's episode, we had the producer in all of our ears that was saying to us, okay, guys, big reactions, big cheers for Drew McIntyre. Let's see that love. You guys are on the camera here. Let's see that love for Drew McIntyre. And I remember doing all kinds of hand gestures and all that for Drew. So it was kind of funny how they recycled some of that stuff going into this week. But you know what? It's all good. Look, we are now officially finally done with the Thunderdome overall. I gotta tell you, it definitely would have been nice tonight to get some type of a tribute to Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and I'll definitely be talking about him later on in the show, as we had got the news today of his passing at the age of 71. Look, we got the nice little graphic tribute banner to kick off WWE RAW. Hey, I got no problem with that whatsoever, but just me personally, my personal preference, you're telling me that WWE didn't have any type of stock footage, they didn't have something that was already ready to go, or something that could have been compiled in a timely manner and make it in time for this episode? You're telling me there was nothing that could be spliced in? that for me just especially when you just really take a step back and you think about how instrumental he was in the early success there for WWE, especially going into that first WrestleMania. And we'll talk a lot more about that later on. But yeah, just, kind of, but you know what? Look, not for nothing, but we got NXT, we've got SmackDown, and we've got this weekend's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I'm sure the tributes will definitely kick in a lot more as they should. So, but yeah, what a loaded up weekend that we just wrapped up, man. I know Ring of Honor had did something that had a lot of people talking, and it's been a minute since I've poked my head in the ROH and seeing what they've been doing. So, I've got a couple of days before I go back to work, so I'm definitely going to be getting caught up on what all I've missed from ROH, and definitely by Wednesday, I'll have a lot more to say about that world of ROH. So you definitely, if you like when I go a little bit all over the place and I talk about promotions outside of WWE and AEW, Wednesday show, I mean, I can't stress it enough. I try to do a good job as it is talking about other promotions, but definitely trying to put the heavy emphasis more and just kind of going a little bit all over the place there. So definitely this Wednesday, you want to get some of my thoughts on what's been happening with ROH. Check out that Wednesday show. But aside from that, what a crazy weekend. So besides ROH, we also had the NBA Finals. We had got Game 2 on Sunday, or was it Game 3? No, it was Game 3 on Sunday. Bucks coming out with a freaking vengeance. That didn't surprise me whatsoever. But I tell you what, it's got to be consistent. That's the thing. It's got to be freaking consistent. And just based on what I'm seeing right now, I just don't feel that the Bucks are going to get the job done. I just don't feel. I think at this point, I'm going with Suns in 6. I'm still pretty confident that the Suns are going to get the job done. We'll have to wait and see. But I tell you what, Giannis, he really is a Greek freak. You got to give that man a lot of props, because you saw that nasty spot that went down with him right before the series, and you're going, oh yeah, he's got to be done. Like, surely this is it. When we saw how he landed wrong on that left knee of his, that left foot, and the way it just bent all out of shape, and you're like, oh man, this guy is surely done. He sat out one game, essentially, and pretty much he's been back ever since. So you talk about a guy, look, there's no way you can spin it and say, oh, this guy is definitely 100. No, out of 100%, I wouldn't be surprised if the way he's running around right now, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he's pushing about 80%, maybe almost 85%. All you can do is just keep your fingers crossed, knock on wood, that young brother doesn't have any type of a freak accident to the point, a torn ligament or whatever, and then he's sidelined for almost a damn year. So hopefully, knock on wood, he's able to make it through this series. I'm really, really surprised that Coach Budenholzer hasn't basically given Giannis restricted minutes. I'm really, really surprised at that. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really surprised at that. UFC 264 was over the weekend. My God, man, to see what went down there with Conor McGregor. You know what? I'm telling you, my man would be so perfect for the WWE universe, or just for any wrestling promotion for that matter. I mean, that guy can fucking talk his ass off. He can fucking talk you into the arena. He can take that money. And, if you want to pay to see this guy get his ass kicked, right? I mean, he can definitely talk you into the arena and everything. But this was the third encounter between he and Dustin Poirier. And my God, to have that match get stopped in the first round, I'm like, what the fuck is going on there? And that was crazy. Now, I didn't order 264, but there was a listener of mine, a longtime listener of mine. I usually chat with him from time to time, and he was like, hey, Lee, I know you don't really check out UFC like you used to and all that, because you got enough subscriptions as it is. But could you at least comment on the Conor McGregor loss at 264? Can you at least talk about that? And I said, well, yeah, but if I could, maybe get some type of footage or whatever. So he was really cool. He actually hosted a little, private little viewing. And, we were talking and all that. And he pretty much had showed me, just because I told him, I said, look, I don't want to watch the whole card. Just show me that fight. Just show me that fight from beginning to end. Just show me that, and I'm good to go. So the fact that that match ended abruptly, doctor stoppage, essentially it was a TKO there. You know what? I don't really have a problem with that whatsoever. I think, honestly, and shout out to the referee that was involved in that, because, it looked as though he was getting ready to just say, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm not really seeing any signs of life as far as an offense goes from Conor McGregor. And, you're hearing early on there when McGregor was doing some of those kicks. Remember that when he was just doing a little testing, doing those kicks there to Poirier, at one point you kind of hear something a little funny, and Poirier, he actually kind of, hey, he kind of gestures, hey, I think something broke there. Like, he smelled blood. And, for me personally, this is the third time that these guys have locked up, right? Third time that these guys have locked up. But then when you take it a step further and you look at the past handful of matches that Conor McGregor has had since, 2016 or whatever? I mean, it's not freaking impressive, because he's just been piling up on the defeats. Just piling up on them. What I saw of Conor McGregor, no bullshit, what I saw of him over the weekend, I hate to go the Rocky reference, but for me personally, this guy is, I'm not going to say he's washed up. I don't believe he's washed up. What is he, 33, getting ready to turn 34 later this week? Or he's going to be 33 later this week? No, I think he's going to be 34 later this week. So he's got 2 losses back-to-back at the hands of Dustin Poirier. And then he picked up a W over Donald Cerrone. That was going back January of 2020. Before that, he lost to Khabib. That was at 2018. Before that, there was a win versus Eddie Alvarez. That goes back to 2016. Then you got the joint with Nate Diaz. That was August of 2016. So, I mean, when you're looking at the win-loss records of what he's been doing for UFC, it's not as bad as what people are making it out to be. It's kind of crazy. You would think that a lot of people are going, oh man, he's lost the past 4, 5, 6 fights. He's washed up. He's a bum. Yeah, he ain't got it anymore. He's a bum. He's different. No. What I think, honestly, this guy has had some pretty big marquee matches in his young career, and he has been able to take home a handsome freaking pay. Especially when you just look at the pay-per-view buys alone for some of these UFC fights. I mean, you look at Poirier versus McGregor 2 from UFC 257. The pay-per-view buy rates for that one was close to 2 million buys. Now, break that down, factor in $69.99 for standard, $79.99 for HD. I mean, you add that shit up, and then comes time to break off the purse of just the pay-per-view buys itself, on top of being the winner for that match. Oof. I mean, Conor's making some pretty damn good money, especially, let alone the money that he was able to make off of that Floyd Mayweather fight. And then he's got his little proper number 12. I mean, he's no longer doing proper number 12. I don't know how many of you guys were aware. I mean, yeah, he's still doing the commercials, but He sold his majority ownership for that company. He sold it. He sold it for loads of freaking money. So this guy, he's making his money. You could honestly make the argument that, you know what, Hollywood and all this other stuff, all this other side stuff that's going on with Conor, that's pretty much got the best of him. And when you got somebody like a Portier that's hungrier, you know how it is. Always the hungrier person, the one who really doesn't have anything to lose. And they can pretty much just put it all out there on the line. Win, lose, or draw, they've got nothing to lose. So they are going to go there like a freaking man possessed, a man on a mission. You look at all of that, combine all of those things, and, it's understandable how Portier was able to get, honestly, I think if the fight would have continued, from what I saw, if that fight would have continued, I'm not confident that McGregor would have been able to beat Portier. I'm just not convinced of that. For me, from what I've seen of McGregor, his takedown game, it's a bit weak sauce. It could be loads better. I mean, yeah, when he comes out of the gate, yeah, he's pretty good with the striking and all that, and he's all right with the takedown and everything. But his ground game, from what I've seen of him over the years, his ground game has never been really on point. It's never really been on point for me personally. I see, once again, we got something about, Twitch. Something about Twitch. I can't stress it enough, and you guys should know this by now, so we don't have to have this be a recurring thing every single week. We are streaming on multiple platforms. We're streaming on Periscope. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Twitch. We're streaming on Facebook. If you guys are experiencing any type of issues, as far as streaming issues go, I'll try to do what I can. But just for the record, what I'm seeing at my end, I'm seeing that I'm connected. I'm seeing that there's no issues going on whatsoever. So if you guys are seeing some type of issues, all I got to say, just quietly, just go ahead and go to the next outlet and enjoy the show that way. I do appreciate you guys giving me a heads up when you think that there's something going on with the stream. But one of the things that I see on the back end of what I'm looking at, I can see if I'm connected to a platform or not. And then, not for nothing, sometimes I will also just want to keep things simple, and I will only stream the show to certain outlets. And I can tell you this, look, I know a lot of people, they like doing the whole thing with Twitch and all that. Me personally, pretty soon we're actually going to eliminate Twitch altogether, because not for nothing, and some of my other friends in the podcasting world, they're kind of having the same problem. It seems that unless you are a hot ass brunette or blonde chick and you got big ass bazookas and you're just not doing anything, you really aren't going to be able to get any views on Twitch. So unless you look like that, or you are playing a pretty popular video game, you ain't really going to be getting any type of traffic on Twitch. So pretty soon, a lot sooner than later, we're actually going to be eliminating Twitch altogether. So really the platforms that you guys want to be on is the Periscope, the YouTube, Periscope / Twitter is what I'm saying. YouTube, definitely the Facebook. Those are, honestly the strongest areas where, at least we're getting definitely the love from those platforms. But getting back to my train of thought initially there, in regards to UFC 264, it's exactly like Rocky when it's all said and done. It's exactly like Rocky 3, Eye of the Tiger. Rocky Balboa, he had those fights that were fixed there by Mickey, and you understood exactly where Mickey was coming from, because all Mickey was trying to do was protect Rock, because those first two fights that he had with Apollo Creed, it took the best out of him, right down to the point Rocky should honestly been fucking retired after he won the championship from Creed. But Mickey just did not have the heart to tell Rock, let's fucking get out now while the getting is good. And so he saw to it that he got weaker opponents that he felt Rocky could easily defeat without any issues whatsoever. So almost reminiscent of the very first Rocky per se. Remember, because Rocky, remember when Mickey was talking to Rocky there, he's like, oh, you had a fight? Who'd you fight? Oh, I fought Spider. Spider, pfft, he ain't nobody. So it's almost kind of like that. So when I look at McGregor this go around and I see what all I saw from him over the weekend, he's just not hungrier, And look, there's nothing wrong with that. If his mind is elsewhere, his mind is on other projects, his mind is on other things outside of the world of MMA, boxing and all that, hey, more power. Go fucking chase that and everything. But he's definitely got to understand going forward that if he's going to continue to pursue this MMA career, then he's got to be mind, body, and soul. Everything's got to be one, and he's got to be laser freaking focused. So as we saw, he did successfully get his surgery and all that. He's doing rehab now, and that's going to be for several weeks, but he's already looking forward to getting in the ring again with Poirier somewhere down the road. But I think even if we were to get a healthy McGregor, it's still going to be the same result. And then, oh my God, to do the promo at the end, he gets his ass whooped and everything, and he is saying that fucking foul shit about Poirier's wife and the whole DM thing and shit. And it's like, look, this isn't the first time. Look, we know about McGregor. McGregor is the king of fucking working the crowd. He is the king of psychology, but you could definitely make the argument that sometimes, a lot of times, this guy goes a little bit too far with the stuff that he says. Shit, I still remember some of the stuff that he was saying in regards to Floyd Mayweather leading up to their fight. And man, just the racial overtones, just whoa. I mean, he was going below the belt for my personal taste. So, but that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts in a nutshell. I didn't think there was any fuckery whatsoever in that fight, contrary to how some people may feel about it. I think even if the ref didn't stop, the end result was just, take your pick. Either McGregor was going to lose by submission because Poirier smelled blood when it came to that leg. He kind of gestured when he heard something pop. So either he was going to win via submission by doing further damage, or, I think he might have been able to knock out our boy McGregor. So, have to, we'll see what happens down the road. But that's where my thoughts are in regards to that. So pretty good. I wish I could get back into UFC on a regular basis, but my subscriptions, man, I got so many goddamn subscriptions all over the place right now. And a lot of them I just am not willing to cough up. But, not for nothing, but if I see somewhere down the road that there is a great demand to cover more UFC, then I will definitely strongly consider covering the UFC a lot more, because I know a lot of you guys are definitely pretty big into that and all that. So hopefully you appreciate that 2 cents from a distance on just that main event match there. So speaking of fighting and all of that, so final Raw Thunderdome. I mean, look, if I were to reiterate just some of the things I had said from last week in regards to Thunderdome, it's kind of funny too, because I remember over the weekend I heard I was paying attention in the Discord, and I was checking out some of the conversations that was happening between people. I saw other stuff that was being said on social media, and a lot of people were going, "Oh, good, thanks, Britons. So glad that Thunderdome is over and done with. That fucking thing, fuck the Thunderdome and all this other shit." And, it's amazing how we had some people that were reacting like that. Me personally, I commend not just WWE, but I'm looking universally. I commend any wrestling promotion during these past 15 plus months that decided, okay, you know what? Yeah, it sucks that we don't have fans live at these arenas right now. It sucks that we can't go live and bring these products right to the fans. But we gotta somehow continue on. We gotta somehow, during these difficult times, we gotta somehow continue to entertain our fans. And I commend from the bottom of my heart, no bullshit whatsoever. This isn't me kissing up to any promotion whatsoever. It's just straight up from the heart. I appreciate all the wrestling promotions that went through all of these months doing their best to put on an entertaining show for us, the fans. Because it could have been, I'm sure some promotions, look, not for nothing, but there are some promotions that once the pandemic had hit, some promotions, they still, even as I speak right now, they still have not recovered to the point they're back. And some of those promotions just may be done forever. I'm friends with a couple of people that run their own independent wrestling promotions. And one of the people that I talk to from time to time, he was gearing up to bring back his promotion right before the pandemic had started. He was gearing up to bring back his promotion in a huge way. Now he had even more financial resources. He had the free time and he had the energy, but most importantly, he had the creativity to really invest full time into this. And he had made connections and everything was good to go. And I remember we were chatting it up and, he told me, he said, look, Lee, he's like, you are going to be a instrumental part. And when we get ready to, launch this again, because we're going to be going at it hard. And really, dog, I need your help in putting this promotion over. Maybe we can see about having some guests stop by your show so we can, really, really blow this up and do what we can. I'm like, hey, no problem. Whatever we can do to, yeah, I'm fucking down. Let's do it. And then the pandemic hit and my man has not truly fully recovered from the moves that he was getting ready to do, a lot of which he had already invested his time and money by the time we had started talking and all that, because he was actually getting ready to put me on a retainer, for setting up any interviews, advertising, promotional needs, and all of that stuff. He had, already gave me a partial payment and all that. And then the fucking pandemic went down and that pretty much was it. And last I talked to him, he's not even sure if he's going to be bringing it back. He doesn't think he is because of what all happened with the pandemic. So I commend all the wrestling promotions that during these difficult times, they did their very best, all in the name of trying to entertain us. Hey, was it a bit odd early on where you had wrestlers that were showing up to these empty arenas and all you got is the ring and they're talking and they're trying to pretend that somebody is there that they can play off of? Yeah, those were pretty damn awkward. It honestly felt like you were watching some type of a silent Broadway play. It almost kind of came off like that. But yeah, it was odd. It was odd. And then eventually they decided, okay, some of the promotions, they decided, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to pipe in some crowd noises. That's how we're going to try to make it seem as though the fans, they're still here. They're still part of this. We're going to go in with some pipe noises. And early on, you saw some of the promotions, they went mad overkill with the crowd noises, with their pre-tape stuff. Impact Wrestling being one of those early on. And then eventually we saw promotions decide, okay, you know what? Let's use a combination. First it was, let's just use in-house talent. Let's just use men and women that's part of our roster, that's part of production. And okay, let's go in that way first. And then it just kind of expanded to there, where for some promotions, ultimately WWE being one of them, they decided, okay, let's go in with the piped in audio, and maybe let's try to see if we can do like the NBA and somehow incorporate fans virtually into these shows and all that. So I mean, these were trying times. If there is one biggest lesson that I take away from what I've seen of the wrestling industry so far, and I don't want to go overkill, I'm just going to say this and keep it moving along as we're talking about Raw and everything. And not for nothing, everything that I'm mentioning, it does talk about Raw. But if you like how I'm going about what I'm mentioning right now, again, if you're going to be in the DC metropolitan area on Friday, August 20th, come on down to the Washington Convention Center, because I'm actually going to be hosting a panel at this year's Awesome Con. Not only am I going to be back there as part of the press media, but I'm also going to be hosting co-hosting a panel, and there's going to be some special guests that's going to be there and everything. You can look everything up at the Awesome Con website. But let me know if you guys are, going to attend, or if you know somebody that's going to be in the area, and they need something kind of fun and cool to check out. Make sure you show them love and tell them to come represent. Check that out. But because this is definitely going to be one of the things that we're going to be talking about, not at length, but we are going to be bringing up. But when you look at how all of these wrestling promotions had operated during these times, you just got to take your hats off to them for continuing to be able to try to help take our minds off of that everyday grind that we all experience just from a mental standpoint. And at the end of the day, we're trying to decompress, we're trying to have some fun, let off some steam and everything. And look, not for nothing, but everybody that's going on and on about the piped in crowd noises for WWE, quick sidebar, I do hope you guys realize that for years WWE has been fucking with the audio, that WWE has been fucking with pre-taped audio chants for years now, and that they are going to continue fucking with that type of audio, regardless, live fans are not. So you guys that are thinking that this is a total fucking victory, and now that we're back to live fans in attendance, we're done with pre-taped audio altogether, my friends, you are sadly mistaken. You're sadly mistaken. Sure, majority rules when it comes to the fans and them reacting overall when they're live and you're able to see and hear them, especially when you're watching that first initial run. Because as we all know, afterwards, after WWE does their thing in post-production, after the live event has gone off the air, and they're cleaning it up for the Hulu and the other platforms, that's where they really like to have a little bit of their special magic sauce come into play and everything. But, for me, for what it was worth, I appreciate what all of these promotions did, especially WWE and what they were doing with Thunderdome, trying to make the best out of the situation. It could have been a lot worse when you really take a step back and think about it. We honestly, for some of these promotions, we could have not had anything whatsoever. So, you take it for what it's worth, and it was a learning experience overall, because if there's one thing that I think all of these wrestling promotions collectively learned together overall, it's the fact of they learned how to, under any other circumstance they wouldn't, but because of what went down with the pandemic, they learned how to converge even more when it comes to social media. They really learn how to properly utilize social media, really tap into its true core, and make the best out of the platforms in providing their message or providing fans with their content. I would say overall that's collectively one of the most coolest things that happened overall. But yeah, I thought it was kind of fun how they recycled some of the fans tonight. Look, the Bobby Lashley promo at the end tonight that pretty much had took Raw off the air, I gotta give high marks for that fucking promo, because I've been watching Bobby Lashley since he first made his WWE debut. And I gotta tell you straight up, I've seen the best and worst of Bobby Lashley. And what he did on this episode of Raw tonight was a bona fide home run of a promo. This was beast mode Bobby Lashley. I fucking loved it. I ate that shit up. This for me was the Bobby Lashley that I've been wanting to see, that I knew existed for months now. And you know, I kind of doubted myself, because I just kept saying, okay, yeah, he's getting better hanging around there with MVP and everything, but are we gonna really, at some point, are we gonna see that Lashley that I know can freaking come out there, really command presence and take over a scene? Are we ever going to get to that Lashley? And this Lashley that we got tonight fucking arrived. I loved it. I loved it on so many levels. Yeah, give me the Lashley that's going to come out there and say to his boy MVP, hey, I appreciate everything that you've done for me in my career. Make no mistake about it. But man, I lost to fucking Xavier Woods earlier tonight. And this bullshit has got to stop. He's right about one thing. All this other stuff that's going on, the champagne, the lounge, the women, yeah, it's all distractions. I'm done with this. And I love how he just pretty much dismissed all of that shit. So this guy is just running fumes right now. And he is laser freaking focused on proving his point on why he is the alpha male. So I love this awakened beast that honestly has been dormant for quite some time. Now, some people may say, well, wait a minute, Lee, wait a minute. What about what was going on there with Drew McIntyre? And, you know, if you really kind of just take a step back and you really think about it, MVP at the core is really the guy that was continuing to ensure that Lashley was holding on to that WWE championship. Again, in storyline there. But we never really saw Lashley, sure, in ring-wise and everything, yeah, not an issue. But just that commanding fucking presence. You still always felt that there was something missing, that there was something lacking with Lashley. And to see everything just pretty much, he's arrived. And that one promo tonight, great building blocks for WWE going forward with Lashley. The Lashley I saw tonight, honestly, and look, last thing I want to see WWE do is break up Lashley and MVP. I'm just saying, what we got of Lashley on this episode was so strong that if you wanted to have him fly solo, hey, he will do just fine talking on his own. But no, I think they need to continue to keep MVP and Lashley together for the foreseeable future. Look, keep them together as long as humanly possible. Match them for freaking Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. Keep them together that long, if not longer. They complement each other very well, and it's obvious that whatever MVP is passing along to the young brother, the brother is fucking, it's clicking, and he is just freaking going there. So I love that. I really love what we got tonight. And again, it just makes me double down on what I had said a couple of weeks ago as far as all the matches I'm looking forward to seeing at Money in the Bank. This match between Kofi, Lashley at the very top of my list. It is number one, without a doubt. So nice dynamic that we got from Lashley tonight. But then you also think about that serious tone that we got from Kofi Kingston. Remember, he had one hell of a bona fide promo a couple of weeks ago, and you're going, whoa, Oh, Kofi, brother, I didn't even know you were capable of this, dog. Oh shit, you were seeing a serious demeanor from Kofi, who, and I loved it. I loved it from the standpoint of, okay, here is a simple story of a guy who realizes not that long ago he was on top of the world. He was the WWE champion, and yes, he was a fighting champion every single time an opportunity came where he had to stand his ground, fight for the people, fight for himself, his causes, his beliefs. He always fought the good fight. It was some people may say it was a lackluster 6 month title reign. Hey, it is what it is. But I'm just saying, in storyline, you just look at Kofi Kingston and man, that 6 month dream, it just came to a screeching halt within seconds at the hand of Brock Lesnar. And I just don't know if I'll ever be able to get back to that mountaintop again, because it just feels as though opportunities like this, they damn sure don't grow on trees. And man, they come, but only so often, if at all, if you're lucky. Can lightning strike twice? I want to prove to everybody that what went down with me, I wasn't just a one-hit wonder. So to see that Kofi Kingston that had surfaced a couple of weeks ago with that serious promo, and it's okay. All right, dog, you got my attention. You're not doing the fucking shucking and jiving and fucking pancakes for everybody, booty popping, all that other fucking shit, and new day. You're not doing all of that. It was, ooh, okay, this guy I can actually see in the main event. Yeah, this guy I can actually see. You give me something with that. But then for him to revert back. So I kind of like how they essentially passed the ball there if you really stop and think about it. 1 minute, Kofi Kingston got served. He rose to the occasion. And it was pretty much, oh, okay, Lashley throws that ball in the air with that racket and wham, sends it over to Lashley's side. Okay, Lashley, now it's your turn. And Lashley fucking delivered tonight. So those guys are going to have a phenomenal match at Money in the Bank this weekend. Looking forward to it. That's probably the one biggest highlight of the night, I would say, for this week's Raw was the Lashley promo really getting you. And it's been a good minute when you really kind of take a step back and you think about it. It's been a good minute, at least for me. I don't know how it is for you all, but it's been a good minute since I've really been sold on a match at a pay-per-view. It's been a good minute since I've actually been talked into a match where legit I want to see this. I'm very excited for this. Haven't felt this way in a couple of years, honestly. A couple of years. I would actually have to sit and think about when was the last time I was pretty excited to see two folks go at it. I'll let you guys know by Wednesday what match comes to mind. But I gotta actually look. At least if we're talking, we can kind of look at it two ways. We can look at it just in the WWE realm or just in general wrestling. I'll have to get with you guys on Wednesday, let you know about that. Match of the night for me, I gotta give it up to Ricochet and John Morrison. Tore it up. We were here on this show last week. I remember putting over Jomo, Rico, saying how much I've been enjoying their program these past couple of weeks, saying to you guys this match, this fight that they were going to be having this week, yeah, they're going to fucking deliver. They're going to fucking steal the show. And I told you guys, I hope that WWE is pretty smart with what they have on their hands with these two guys, and they give them all the time in the world to tell their story. And what a great story that they told tonight in their match together. I loved it. Loved it. No complaints whatsoever about this one. It feels like these men went about, because this was a false count anywhere, so it felt like they maybe went about 20 minutes, give or take. At least it was kind of close to 20 minutes, I would have to say. Now, sure, you could say that it was a little bit predictable in some instances or whatever, but you did have a couple of really cool spots that went down in it. Also, I love the nice touch of Riddle in this whole thing. You know, you're just kind of looking down the road and you're going, you know, if eventually things go south with Randy Orton and Riddle in storyline, okay, well, you know what? You want to try to do something with Riddle in the tag team division. It seems as though WWE stumbled upon something pretty cool with Ricochet and Riddle that I actually wouldn't mind seeing them do something as a tag team. But so it was nice seeing Matt Riddle come out with the little cameo that he had in there, and he was grabbing freaking poor Miz with his sparkly shoes. I've never seen shoes with so much glitter in my life, man. Them joints had so much sparkle, it was hurting my eyes, man. Seriously. But it was nice seeing him come out there teasing Miz a little bit, you know, trying to help balance the odds because he saw what was going on with Miz and his freaking whatever, he's dripsticks and all that other good shit, you know. But yeah, you know, I like what they did here with these two guys. I mean, you're definitely left without a shadow of doubt when it comes to Money in the Bank. There's going to be some crazy spots going on with these two guys. They've saved the best for the pay-per-view, but great match, great match between these guys. I got nothing but love for Morrison and Ricochet, right down to the point. To see their ascension these past couple of weeks, they have personally solidified, I think, for a majority of the fans, and I would hope by now they've solidified for those in WWE management that, hey man, these are two great pieces of talent that you have here. These are, you do these guys right, they are your cream of the crop. They are your elite. You really should consider putting the engine behind these guys more. You can go to some pretty cool heights with these guys. All you got to do is just have some creativity, and you know, the rest is pretty much just let them loose. Just let them be loose about it. So I really hope that it's not a case where just filler and there's just trying to build them up so we can get to Money in the Bank. No, you can actually do something with these guys going forward. There's a reason why Paul Heyman was pretty big on frickin' Ricochet and Aleister Black and some other cats, and you know, hopefully those in WWE are now kind of seeing that with what these two men been doing these past couple of weeks, and definitely toss them more opportunities. Because I definitely feel that they've been hitting a home run so far. Rhea Ripley in action, taking on Natalya. Yeah, I personally just didn't really care for this one. Honestly, didn't really care for this one. I'm trying to find like the right words, but I don't really have anything too kind to say about this one. I would have to say, since Rhea Ripley has been on the main roster so far, of all the matches and feuds that she's had so far, it's just not really clicking for me with Rhea Ripley on the main roster. It's not clicking for me. It's just not. Right down to the point, you do this match with Natty, and that for me was just so goddamn odd. It really, really was so fucking odd, because what really would have made more sense would have been for Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose to come out to the ring, because we saw them earlier in the night. That's the crazy part. We saw Tamina Snuka, Natalya, some backstage little skit. They're talking. Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose comes up to them. One thing leads to another. Tamina just cold pushes the shit out of fucking Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke has the Sour Patch looking face going on. She got that whole face, you know, like she just had a big ass pouch of Sour Patch Kids. You're like, oh, okay, so, all right, cool, all right. Maybe this is going to kind of set up something. If not on Raw later during the night, maybe it's going to set up something during the pay-per-view. So to see it just go 180 and basically, Natty essentially comes out and does this match with Rhea Ripley, I just thought it was bipolar crazy. Sorry for those of you that's actually bipolar. It makes you feel any better. I have my days where I honestly feel bipolar, but harmless little joke I'm making there. But you guys get the point that I'm making. Very, very odd booking that was going on there. What else? What else? What else was kind of noteworthy? The United States Championship match, Sheamus taking on Humberto Carrillo. That's probably gonna, at this point, pan out maybe during a pre-show, or maybe it might actually make the Money in the Bank card. We'll have to wait and see how it progresses here. But Sheamus pretty much chatting it up with Sonya Deville, Adam Pearce backstage. They pretty much put him in a position where if he didn't show up tonight to defend that United States Championship, they pretty much were gonna execute the option of stripping him of the title. So he showed up, but he had other plans in mind. He decided to jump Humberto Carrillo as Carrillo was making his way to the gorilla position. And pretty much you go from there. I mean, this match was over. I don't even think it made it 20 seconds, y'all. I don't even think it made it 20 seconds. Just boom, bro kick. That pretty much was the end of it. One thing that was kind of cool, though. So now we have a glimpse into the future of what's to come there for Damian Priest. I did like the fact that when Sheamus was jumping on Humberto backstage, and you had EMT, security personnel come and check up on Humberto, I love the fact that Damian Priest just calmly arrived at the scene, and him and Sheamus have that brief exchange with their eyes, and they locked on each other. So you're going, oh, okay, now this could be very, very interesting. And you know what? I'm down. Sheamus, Damian Priest, yeah, give me that. Look, I've seen what Damian Priest has been able to do, not just in NXT, but just outside of WWE. And if you really want to see what this young man is capable of, I mean, hell, look, you have already seen what the man can do in NXT, so that should already tell you. But if you really want to give him a test, yeah, Sheamus, sure, let's fucking go there. Look, not for nothing, Humberto Carrillo, he can put on all the bulk of muscle in the world. He can put that on all he wants. But sadly, it's going to be a case where he's going to always be limited by, unfortunately, that damn English. That's what's hindering him right now. And look, I don't like it as much as you guys do, especially those of you that are bilingual and all that. I don't like it as much as you do. And I've told you guys for years, and I've been a very big advocate of it. All you got to do is just allow these men and women just speak their native language. But see, now here's the problem with that. I'm still an advocate for this now, but here's a problem that we have now going forward. Doing the whole English subtitle, yeah, all that was cool when we were doing it in the Thunderdome and we weren't doing it in front of fans. Okay? But now we're going to be doing this in front of fans. Me personally, I still feel that you still can honor both. You can honor the fans that's live in attendance. You can definitely take care of the fans watching at home and just honestly give them two different viewing, listening experiences of whatever segment they're watching with that foreign wrestler. I still am an advocate for that, and I've been pushing for that for fucking years. It's so fucking simple. All you got to do is just make sure everything syncs up perfectly so that when it comes time for you to go to your next match or you got to go back to your broadcast panel team, you're able to do that. But you could essentially have one experience for those in the live attendance, just direct them to the freaking monitor, or correction, the Titantron, and you can have said wrestler talking in their native language, put in the English voiceover actor. Boom, problem solved. Those watching at home, you pretty much give them the said wrestler talking in their native language, put in the English subtitle. That's it. It's as simple as that. That's how you do it. But Humberto Carrillo, great fucking look, great looking kid. Pretty solid. He could put on all the bulk he wants, but I just don't see that going any farther. I really don't. Yeah, that's going to be pretty solid for a couple of weeks, but just what about in 90 days? What about in 6 months? I'm just not seeing that. So the fact that we've got Damian Priest that's essentially sliding right in there, and he's pretty much going to be the one ultimately taking on Sheamus for that United States Championship. Yeah, fucking go there. And I tell you what, he's going to rise to the occasion. He's going to hit a fucking home run. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be a great ass feud. Them boys are going to be slugging it out. Seriously, them boys are going to be slugging it out. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those two lock it up. But give that some time. Give that some time. I wouldn't be surprised if at this point, maybe those guys don't lock it up until maybe at the earliest. Maybe they'll lock it up SummerSlam. Maybe SummerSlam. But I just feel like we're going to continue to get a nice slow burn on WWE programming. Viking Raiders were in action. Remember, they had those singles matches that were going on. AJ Styles took on Ivar. Ivar picked up the first win there, and then immediately after that, it was Eric taking on Omos. Omos picking up the dub. All right, so 50-50. Remember, next Raw coming up next week. They're going to be live in front of the fans. That's going to be Viking Raiders taking on Omos and AJ Styles for the Raw Tag Team titles. Other than that, just trying to see if there was anything else noteworthy. Oh, you know what? I got to show some love to Alexa Bliss, Nikki, almost a superhero, taking on Asuka and Naomi. Pretty good tag team match. I love seeing Doudrop taking a liking there to Alexa Bliss, but you know she was very reluctant in attacking Alexa Bliss. I love seeing Alexa Bliss just trying to make her way there for Eva Marie, and Doudrop being very reluctant. She really was not trying to hurt Alexa because she actually likes her and all that. But she did. She got physical with Alexa Bliss, and she just magically disappears. I thought that was just so funny. Doudrop just picks her up, you know, like she's picking up a toddler, and then just pretty much runs over to the barricade, well, walks over to the barricade and just pretty much dumps her over the guard wall there. And all of a sudden, she magically disappears. That Alexa Bliss, we never see her again as far as I know. So that was kind of hilarious how that spot came about there. By the way, the playground segment between Alexa Bliss, Doudrop, Eva Marie, boy, that was awkward. It was funny too because at this point, wifey was in the bedroom, just got in from work, and so she's, you know, chilling with me, and she's like, man, this is bad. You know, what happened? I'm like, She's like, these Alexa Bliss spots, what happened? They've gotten worse. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, you got me. I'm like, hopefully they switching it up when they get ready to go, back into fans. Cause yeah, it's been rough. It started off pretty good. It's been pretty rough watching Alexa Bliss these past couple of weeks. Look, it's not her fault. She's doing what she needs to do. However she's being directed, she's going out there and she's doing it. But it's starting to become cringe what's going on with her. So I'm hoping that now that we're pretty much going to be back in front of fans, you know, trust me, a lot of the shit that you saw that was going on without the fans, and are not going to be able to do that anymore. And what we've been seeing with this whole Alexa Bliss playground stuff backstage, and you know, now we got to put some substance behind it. Now we got to put some sizzle. We got to put some seasoning behind it. Otherwise, them fans are going to let WWE have it. Nothing personal with Alexa Bliss, but they want to be entertained. And some of the stuff that they've been having her do as of late, it ain't been entertaining. So, it makes you wonder though, looking at that brief exchange that was going on there between Dewdrop and Alexa Bliss, if somewhere down the road, if maybe Alexa Bliss may just say, nah, you know what, Dewdrop, I'm gonna take you for myself. Fuck this Eva Marie. And I like that tease that we got there of potentially a feud down the road there, match between Eva Marie and Alexa Bliss. Kind of like all of those elements that was going on there. Add on top of that, Alexa Bliss. Actually, you know what? I said tag match. That match was not a tag match. It was actually a fatal four-way between Alexa Bliss, Nikki, Asuka, Naomi. It was actually a fatal four-way. Forgive me for that. But yeah, that was pretty good. Even seeing the Alexa Bliss, Nikki Ash, their little collision there, kind of revisiting past history between those two. Kind of liked all of those elements that was going on there. I like all of those elements. Interestingly, I do believe in consistency here. Interestingly, I found it kind of odd that we didn't get Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, that were maybe looking to extract some type of revenge on Alexa Bliss. Because remember what's been happening with Bliss in their camp and Reginald and all of that shit. And we didn't get any of that. And for you guys that's kind of wondering, well, shit, was Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, were they even on the card for tonight? As far as I know, they were not on the card. If they did something, maybe in a backstage skit or whatever, okay, great, backstage, yay. But they didn't do anything in the ring as far as I know. So, didn't do anything. Drew McIntyre having a few words via Titantron with Jinder Mahal. Sword spot there. Drew letting Jinder Mahal know, dude, that's not my sword. I got the real one right here. That's just a replica you're holding. Then destroys Jinder Mahal's motorcycle. All right, so we got a continuation there. We got a continuation there of Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre. I still can't help but wonder how much of a factor, if at all, and I just feel as though he is going to be a factor. Jinder Mahal's going to screw McIntyre out of becoming Mr. Money in the Bank. I just personally feel that's what's going to happen. So I'm calling for it right now. Jinder Mahal screws Drew McIntyre out of becoming Money in the Bank. I'd be shocked if we at least did not get to see some type of a cameo by Jinder at Money in the Bank. That would really be baffling if there's no cameo. Xavier, Bobby Lashley, solid match. Solid matchup. Xavier Woods picking up the dub there. Solid what those guys did there. And then again, that ultimately just really setting up the tone for what we got closing out Raw in that very serious beast mode version of Bobby Lashley. And good shit. Good Raw overall. Pretty solid Raw overall. I'm just kind of looking at, it's weird because I had to remind myself that, some of this stuff that I was seeing tonight, because at many times it kind of felt like deja vu, some of the stuff I was watching. And then I'm remembering, oh yeah, there was some exclusive stuff that, if you got in Thunderdome early enough, there was some stuff that you got to see, if I remember correctly, So it was like, okay, cool. But some of it kind of seemed a little bit deja vu, but, pretty for a final official Raw Thunderdome. Okay. You got the job done. You really push home the fact that you got the Money in the Bank pay-per-view coming up and everything, which looks like it's going to be a solid card. We'll go over that card on Wednesday's show, by the way, for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. But, hey, do want to take this time out. Thank those of you that's tuning in, checking out the show right now. It means a lot, as always. Please, kindly, you've been watching up to this point and you're enjoying yourselves. Please do me a huge favor and make sure, if you haven't done so already, you hit that like button. Do that pushes out our content out there to the YouTube algorithm team to push out for other people to check out. It really helps out as far as the recommendations go and all that. And we are trying to definitely do our part to make sure that YouTube channel specifically grows a lot more. For those of you that's listening on demand and the downloads, just continue to, download and hit the like, the favorite, subscribe, all that good stuff really, really means a lot. Shout out to our Patreon members, patreon.com/RCWR show. Check out bonus audio video content there. Also, speaking of content, we did put up a new Wrestling with the Topics, me and the wifey, so you can check that out. I will be, I think this week actually, most likely this week, we will be reviewing the Loki series, and we will be reviewing the Black Widow movie as well for you guys. Now, for those of you that might be a little bit curious, for the Black Widow movie, because I know not everybody has HBO Max, and a lot of people are kind of on the fence about, well, do I want to? And what I will do is, for a limited time, I will make the Black Widow movie review be free for you guys to check out on Patreon. It will be for a limited time. You know, and usually when I make content on Patreon available for free for a limited time, I usually do like 3-4 days, you know, give opportunity for folks to check out before I make it paid content. So, yeah, FYI, but those two are going to be dropping this week for sure. So check that out. Hey, we got a new sponsor that we're going to be working with for the next couple of months. Very happy to have them on board. Looking forward to working with them. Really great company. Can't stress it enough. If you are in a position right now where you're looking to sell your vehicle, doesn't matter if it's new or used, if it's damaged or not, if it's running or not. The good folks over at AUTOPURCHASERS.com, they want to buy your vehicle. That vehicle could be outside of your home, just collecting dust. I mean, it's essentially junk. They don't mind buying your car. All you got to do is go to AUTOPURCHASERS.com, fill out the form, give them as much info about your car as possible, show them photos of it, and then from there, you just kick back and you wait to receive an offer from them. If you like the offer, at that point, they actually come to meet you, take that vehicle off your hands, right down to the point. If that vehicle's not running, they will tow it away on their dime. No money comes out of your pocket. So they will meet you to not only pick up the vehicle, but they'll also pay you right there on the spot as well when taking your vehicle. So, man, check them out. I mean, you can't go wrong, man. All you got to do is just make sure that whatever the vehicle is that you're thinking about selling, just make sure that that vehicle is already paid off or it's very close to being paid off. And they definitely will do business with you. So hit them up, AUTOPURCHASERS.com. Happy to be working with them for the next little bit. Happy to have them on board as a sponsor. So, yeah, once again, I was telling you guys, you know, we're gearing up for AwesomeCon next month and everything. And I'm very excited. I got this new toy here that's going to come in handy. It is a Zoom PodTrack P4 recorder, and what's really cool about this is you can take a total of 4 XLR cables and you can pretty much hook them up to you know, your microphones, and you can pretty much do what you got to do right there on the spot. This is battery operated too, so it runs with 2 AA batteries. And I like going with the rechargeable batteries too. So that's just my personal preference. Doesn't matter if it's Energizer or Duracell. I like the rechargeable batteries. And you can put a SD card, a memory card in here. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I'm looking forward to trying this out. This is really great. I cannot stress it enough. If you are constantly doing on-site interviews, first of all, Zoom is a pretty good company. They are a pretty good company when it comes to audio recording devices. But if you're in a position where you're doing interviews with multiple people and you're on location, something like this you definitely want to have handy, because it's definitely a freaking lifesaver. So check that out. That'll put you back about maybe I would say $200, but it gets the job done. It gets the job done. So I'll definitely share a full review with you guys once I've really gotten some hands-on experience with it and everything. I got that though specifically for Awesome Con because I'm just keeping in mind that the microphones that Awesome Con has, the audio quality. Yeah, the audio quality is it's pretty rough, man. It's pretty rough. Hey, before we go any further into the show, I hate to go the Debbie Downer route right now, but I'll try to be as uplifting as possible. Can we talk about the passing of Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff? Passed away at the age of 71. My heart just broke. My heart just broke hearing that. I actually had the day off today and I was kicking back, doing some work around the house, and off and on, usually when I'm off from work, I don't really like getting on social media like that. Nowadays I'm just kind of enjoying just chilling more and more, just doing stuff around the house, reading a book or whatever. But one of the times today, I popped online just to see what people were talking about, see what's trending and everything. And I saw, like, right when the announcement was made about Mr. Paul Orndorff's death, I was just, oh man, 71, that's still kind of young. And when I say kind of young, I know some people, when they hear that, they kind of snicker and they, it's like, no, 71 is still, relatively young, especially when you look at everything that we know now about health, fitness, medicine, maintaining a good diet and everything. People are able to live a lot longer because of the advancement in our health and science and, food and all that, all the great information we know about nutrition and everything. So, to hear somebody passed away, at 71, you're going, man, wait, what the hell? What's going on here? And to see what happened a couple of weeks ago when Orndorff's son had put out that video, that was just so heartbreaking to see. It really, really was. Now, some people, they said, hey, look, not for nothing, but we've known how he was looking. We've known about his health for, a couple of months now. And, why is it that everybody else is just now? Well, unfortunately, sadly, that's the nature of the beast when it comes to the wrestling media world as a whole. They don't react to something usually until somebody of notoriety puts it over, and then all of a sudden that's usually how it works. Sadly, I heard about some of the rumblings, and then I've got two eyeballs of my own. I saw sporadically the appearances that Paul Orndorff was making over the years, and I'm going, man, I'm kind of recognizing this guy less and less. Is that Paul? Like, what the hell? And he was looking kind of rough, but I just said to myself, it's the age. The age is getting the best of him. It is what it is. But, I choose to remember to each its own. I choose to not only celebrate the life and legacy and the career of Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, but the visual of him that I will always have in my mind of him. There's two images that come to mind right now. The one image is definitely when he was in his prime, clean shaven, had the nice big guns, and he's just running around, and just definitely that's the Paul Orndorff I want to remember. That's one of the versions. I don't want to remember the version that looks so frail. You know exactly the video that I'm talking about. The video from a couple of weeks ago that his son Travis had shared. And Mr. Wonderful just looked so unkept. He wasn't shaved, no trim. He just, it's like, okay. And look, to defend Travis a little bit, he said, and this was something that I saw so many podcasts, they did not bring up. They were so focused on the sensationalism of the story, and then they were poking holes, and in some instances, some people were actually making fun of Paul Orndorff, which I just thought was, okay, fuck you. But none of my friends or colleagues in the podcasting world were making fun of Mr. Wonderful, for the record, but the ones that were, it was just like, yeah, fuck you. But what a lot of people collectively had missed was the fact that Travis, when he shared that video, I believe, I know some people, look, me personally, I definitely was upset at the fact that, okay, we couldn't trim him up, we couldn't give him a haircut, what the hell, that bothered me. But putting that to the side, Travis had said in the post that he shared of that video that this was the first time that he had seen his dad in practically a year because of COVID. And so, when you hear that, you're going, wow, so just imagine if that was you or I, and there was a loving parent that, we cared for tremendously, especially when they were getting up there in age. We wanted for them to have, peace of mind, well-being, and all that. And because of what was going on with the pandemic, and everything that we were trying to understand about this COVID-19, not being able to see that loved one for months upon months upon months. Yeah, when you finally do get a position where, hey, you can finally see your loved one, yeah, you're probably gonna wanna record that. You're probably gonna wanna show it to the rest of the world and let them see, hey man, how cool is this? I'm reunited with, yeah, how cool is this? So I understood where Travis was coming from to a degree. Travis Orndorff understood where the son of Mr. Wonderful was coming from in sharing that post and all that. But I don't want to remember Mr. Wonderful in that hospital or whatever the hell he was. I choose to not remember that because he looked so frail. He looked so sick. He looked as though he was knocking on heaven's door. And that was just painful and so emotional to watch. I'm telling you, when you watch it just one time is all it takes. And you're so depressed. You don't want to ever see that again. So I would like to believe that Mr. Wonderful fans all around the world definitely join me in saying, yeah, you know what? That video that was floating around, yeah, that's not how we want to remember him. No. The other image that I have as far as remembering Mr. Wonderful, it's one of my personal favorites, and I actually had put the tweet out earlier today showing the video and all. But one of my favorite moments wasn't really in his career. It was actually post wrestling career. The infamous episode of Table for Three. You can check this out if you've never watched it before. Go check it out, especially if you got the WWE Network. Table for Three, Mr. Wonderful, Mean Gene Okerlund, Hot Rod, Roddy Piper. Of all the Table for Three episodes, my absolute freaking favorite, and I'm not just saying that. I remember when that episode had initially premiered, and I remember talking about that show on the very next episode of the RCWR show, and I had said how much I had enjoyed it. It was a great throwback, and I remember singing nothing but praises for that Table for Three. It remains my top 5 favorite episodes of Table for Three. And I shared just a clip of that Table for Three. And the first thing that just comes into mind is just, yeah, somewhere, if there is an afterlife, if there is a heaven, somewhere we got Mean Gene, we've got Rowdy, and we've got Mr. Wonderful. They're just trading off hilarious, endless stories back to back. And Paul Orndorff, he had some funny moments in there when he was talking and everything, but for the most part, he was just kicking back. He actually was trying to enjoy his food. Out of everybody that you see, especially when you think about all the episodes of Table for Three, Paul Orndorff, like, look, I'm here to eat, damn it. I'll tell stories too, but I want to enjoy this meal, damn it. And I mean, he's going to work. He's making sure he's eating his fucking meal, man. But he's talking a little bit as well. So yeah, it looks like dementia. From what I and you all are understanding here, it looks like it was dementia that got the best of Mr. Wonderful. Just crazy. I mean, obviously CTE and dementia. I mean, that's a diddly ass combination. Just heartbreaking. Just so heartbreaking. And you younger wrestling fans that's out there, I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, yeah, look, I don't really care for the old school wrestling. I don't know about some of these names that, are being brought up. I'm familiar with the Hulk Hogan's and the Sergeant Slaughters and the Mr. Perfects, but, I don't really care for well, look, you gotta really get yourselves caught up to speed, for one. And I can only do but so much to help you younger folks out there, because I know our older cats, they know and appreciate the work of Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. But for you younger fans out there that were not able to catch any of this guy's work first run wise, this man was very instrumental into the early stages of WWE back when they were the WWF. You look at that 86 to 87 run, that 1986 to 1987 run that Hogan and Orndorff had there, but it even kind of goes back a little bit further than that and everything, because you got to rewind it back to that period where Paul Orndorff was just red hot as a heel when Hogan had first returned to the WWF. Remember that Hogan had defeated the Iron Sheik, and WrestleMania. I mean, it pretty much had spawned off of that and all. And at the time, Orndorff, he was the heel, and he became Hogan's first challenger at Madison Square Garden. And back then, I mean, just the importance of Madison Square Garden, when you were working with somebody at MSG and you worked with them in the main event for WWF, that was like, okay, headlining a pay-per-view, basically. Like, this was the money-making joint right here. And then their rivalry peaking at WrestleMania, where both men were on opposing teams. Remember that? Hulk Hogan was with Mr. T, and Roddy Piper pretty much, he had Orndorff and all that. And Orndorff was, man, when you really take a step back and you think about it, fucking Paul Orndorff was the unsung hero in that fucking joint. He really, really was. He was the unsung fucking hero, because everybody just thinks strictly about Hogan, Mr. T. Everybody just thinks strictly about that. But Orndorff was so, especially with the promo stuff that he was doing back then, leading all the way to it. So instrumental, man. Yeah. I mean, but you got to go back and rewind that. Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, Snooker was in there. And then Hot Rod, Paul Orndorff, Cowboy Bob Orton. I mean, you got to rewind it back to that period of time. Orndorff, the way Vince McMahon was looking at Orndorff, he wanted for him to be a babyface. He looked at him and he wanted him to be a babyface. But even Vince kind of realized, okay, you know what? I'm only going to be able to go but so far with Orndorff as a babyface. And, this was mainly because, okay, Hogan's pretty much, he's here. He's at the top. He's killing it at MSG and everything. He's the top babyface. And it's like, okay, so there's really not room for another babyface. So that pretty much made Vince McMahon get in the position of, okay, you know what? It sucks, but we gotta do something with Orndorff. We gotta turn him, and it was a really smart move because that proved to be one of the most successful, greatest feuds in wrestling history. I mean, here we are, essentially 35 years later, and it's still one of the most talked about moments in wrestling history, and that's when Paul Orndorff turned on the Hulkster. I mean, go back. I can't remember if it was a Saturday night main event match or whatever, but you had Hulk Hogan teaming up with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. They were taking on the team of King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd, who were being managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan. And, great fucking, just hear the crowd, everything. Oh, man. And I remember this shit in real time when I was a kid, seeing this shit go down. And, when I was still, kind of liking the Hulkster there, before it was too freaking crazy, I just remember just, yeah, cheering the Hulkster on and everything. And then pandemonium broke out. Studd, Bundy getting the best of the Hulkster. Paul Orndorff wanting that tag, wanting to get that hot tag so he can go in there and help out his friend, the Hulkster, and everything. He never did get that tag. Everything just pretty much went into the shitter because it was just pandemonium breaking out. Eventually, Paul Orndorff gets in there. He's able to fight off Bundy and Big John Studd. He's trying to help up the Hulkster to his feet, and the crowd's cheering it on and everything. And the next thing you know, frickin' Orndorff just fucking strikes the hell. I mean, he just strikes Hogan down to the canvas, then picks him up, does the fucking pile driver, and then just hear the white hot boos that were coming in for Orndorff after that. You're just going, holy shit, Vince hit pay dirt. Vince hit pay dirt. I mean, it was a great freaking moment. A great freaking moment in wrestling history. But you look at how those seeds were just being planted in of that eventual heel turn there for Paul Orndorff. Remember Adrian Adonis. Remember, he was the one that in storyline really got the gear in motion. Remember his flower shop segments, and remember how the segments on one of them he had Orndorff on there, and he was calling him Hulk Jr. Remember that, Hulk Jr. And you had those periods of weeks where Orndorff was teaming up with the Hulkster there, and you saw the seeds of paranoia and jealousy with Orndorff start to settle in and everything. But yeah, I mean, when Hogan, Orndorff were doing their thing anywhere, I mean, they had mostly sold out. They sold out. You go back to what they had did in Toronto. That drew like 60,000 fans, like plus. 60,000 fans, like plus. I mean, it's crazy. That's crazy when you take a step back and you think about that. And then, God, you think about the just the WrestleMania numbers alone, and what they were able to do. I mean, when I think about one of the most memorable feuds, great runs from the 80s, Orndorff, Hulk Hogan, you definitely gotta put that at the very top of the list. Right down to the point, the main event special from 1987 when you had Hogan versus Orndorff. It had headline Saturday night's main event. It was a steel cage match, if you guys remember that. Very controversial too, for its time. Won't spoil it for you guys, but yeah, there's so many fond memories of Paul Orndorff. I didn't particularly care for his run in WCW. I really, really didn't. Can I say one thing about Paul Orndorff? Like, because I was always, As a kid, I had my favorites as far as baby faces go and all that, but I was always more fascinated with the heels. So as a kid, I gravitated towards the Papa Shangos, the Earthquakes, the Typhoons. I gravitated towards definitely the Undertakers, the Jake Snake Roberts, Mr. Perfect, Bobby Heenan. I always gravitated more towards the heels. I just felt like, hey, these guys are kind of cool. I hate them, and I hate what they're doing to these good guys. There's just something kind of cool about them, right? Trust me, if as a kid, if I saw that they were doing something that was just too heinous or despicable, I was booing them and all that. But the one thing I had liked about Paul Orndorff, he's a fellow DC, Maryland, Virginia resident too. Definitely he was born and raised in Winchester, Virginia. I used to frequent many times to Winchester, Virginia. Love it. I mean, you want to talk about peaceful scenery, rich land. I mean, very lacking as far as on the industrial side. It's a lot of rural that's going around. A lot of suburban, a lot of rural. That's mainly heavy on the rural that's going on in Winchester. A lot of trees, a lot of woods, mountains, hills, just nice, pretty, rich grass. Little country. It's almost country out there, so to speak. One of the things I loved about Paul Orndorff growing up, I loved how he had this bravado that was about him, but it was a natural bravado. There's some guys that just, they're really dialing it up here. They're really cranking it up. But with Paul Orndorff, there was a natural bravado to him because it's, hey, yeah, when you go into the gym and you lift as much weights as I do, you take care of your body, good, smart nutrition. There was a natural that I liked about him, a natural arrogance that I liked about him, natural cockiness. But you want to talk about a guy that was so goddamn stiff. And I mean that in the most positive way possible. This dude could work stiff. I mean, many times his shit would connect. his shit would connect. This Paul Orndorff, he wasn't a Mr. Perfect. Some would make the argument as far as his move set goes, he had a little bit more than what was going on there with the Hulkster. He had a little bit more going on, but man, he works so stiff. I mean, goddamn, but I like those elements about him. I did. I loved it about him. I mean, he said he was going to do something. He would go in there and he would fucking back it up. There's no telling what would have happened with him wrestling career-wise if that untreated neck injury that he had suffered, if he, just would have, and you understand from the many interviews that he's given, especially the shoot interviews, he just couldn't do it because he did not want to lose his spot. He was so intimidated, and it's understandable. From back then, it's totally understandable. But that's how much he wanted to try to protect his spot. I remember when he talked about he had an opportunity to be in Rambo First Blood. He met with Stage Stallone, Sylvester Stallone's son. He met with Sylvester Stallone's agent or whatever, and they got a good look at him. They wanted to see his body and all of that. And they were like, okay, all right, pretty cool. All right, yeah, badass. And then there was another meeting that was set up, and this go round, he had met with Sylvester Stallone, and Stallone's pretty much, I want to go ahead and give you the part. And it was like, okay, the rest is history. But politics got in the way, and he pretty much got screwed out of that opportunity. another opportunity came about where Sly Stallone was like, hey, you know, I got this thing that's coming up in Rocky and I think you'd be perfect for it. Once again, the politics coming into play, and ultimately he got screwed out of it. And it's definitely something that he looked back on and said, yeah, you know what? I wish I could have, if I could do something different, I definitely, and you know, you stop and think about it, he would have been all right in the 80s, going into the early 90s. He would have been all right as a movie star, because you just think about, and I know for our younger audience out there, I'm telling you, when it came to movies that were being put out in the 80s and 90s, it was all about action. And if you looked like you could kick some mega ass, boy, there was a career for you. It didn't matter if your acting was kind of shitty. All you needed to do was just have a good looking face and a phenomenal physique. And everybody just left and right was just 80s going into the 90s was just doing all kinds of fucking action movies. The kings of the 80s and the 90s as far as action films go and everything, you definitely got to give it up. You definitely got to give it up to Sylvester Stallone and pretty much what he was able to do with Rambo and all that. You got to give it up to Arnold Schwarzenegger, what he was able to do with Conan the Barbarian 1 and 2. You also look at Charles Bronson and the Death Wish series. You look at Chuck Norris and the string of movies, action movies that he was putting out in the 80s there. Steven Seagal. Van Damme, again, we're combining 80s going into the 90s. You know, Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Jackie Chan, but he really didn't explode until the late 90s going into the 2000s. But, you know, back then he had begun to build a pretty good reputation for himself and everything. Yeah, man, he would have been all right. He would have been all right. Paul Orndorff, he would have been all right had he decided, nah, fuck this, I'm just gonna go on ahead and go into Hollywood and everything. But yeah, that untreated neck injury, man, it really had got the best of him. And you just remember when he, you know, left WWF and he went to WCW. It was weird for me seeing him in WCW. I'm not gonna even lie to you guys, but it was definitely weird seeing him in there. You know, sure, he had some, yeah, because what, he had like 2 stints, didn't he? I think he had like 2 stints in WCW. He was world television champion. Didn't one of those times, didn't he take on Cactus Jack? From what I remember, he took on Cactus Jack. He eventually became a trainer, coach in WCW and all that. The Pretty Wonderful era of Mr. Wonderful. I remember that. Yeah, you know, just yeah, he was solid, man. He was solid. So I choose to remember the good times. There's like so many fond memories I have of his career. I even remember the unsuccessful shot at the IWGP Heavyweight Championship when he took on Great Muta. I even remember that one. So I mean, I definitely have my favorite moments. I know he had came out of retirement and he did the one match. What was it in 2017 at the age of 67? It was pretty much his first match since 2000. Yeah, I choose to not remember that one. I just, no, I'm good. I'm good, seriously. But, you know, guy that was deep into playing college football and then went into, God, NWA, Georgia Championship Wrestling, Tri-State, Mid-South. I mean, the list just goes, you know, on and on. Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. I mean, his footprint the UWF. I mean, his footprint is just everywhere, everywhere. So, I appreciate the fact that the man got his roses before he passed away. At least you can take comfort and say, hey, not only did he go into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2000, but he also went into the Cauliflower Alley Club. He also, went into the Luthez, Hall of Fame. He went into this, so at least he got his roses while, he was still alive and everything. But it just kind of, it's weird when you stop and think about it, because, it really only seems like after a person has passed that their legacy is magnified and amplified even more on just how much of a footprint they left on their respected industry. I always find that so fascinating. I really, really do. I always find that so fascinating. I saw an interesting statistic earlier today where somebody posted, hey, did you know that the participants that Hulk Hogan faced in the first 6 WrestleManias, they're all gone? And I had to do a double take, and I was like, wait, what? And I mean, when you stop and think about it, we're talking about a significant period of time that has passed. We're talking about essentially 30 years that's passed, give or take. But when you just really kind of take a step back and you think about that, you're like, wow, that's pretty, and the Hulkster's feeling it. You saw some of the stuff that he had put out earlier today. Anybody that's really taking it to heart right now, definitely him. It was a nice little message that he put out there about how he and Orndorff had worked in New Japan, and people had said to them, you'll never work another match in Japan ever again. But they proved them wrong, because they kept coming back again and again and again, and they were tearing it up and everything. So yeah, just rest in peace. Look, I take this, look, dementia, cancer, those are serious bitches. A friend of the family a couple of years back got put in hospice because they were dealing with dementia. And it was getting out of hand, and it got to a point where pretty much their last precious few months, weeks on this earth, they pretty much were put in the hospice, try to make it as comforting and all that as possible. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I'm telling you that right now. Would not wish it on my worst enemy. But if there's any comfort that fans, colleagues, friends of Mr. Wonderful can take with them, is that any type of pain, any type of suffering that this man may have been going through, if there is an afterlife, if there is such thing as a utopia of an afterlife where there's no more pain and there's no more suffering, hopefully he's there and he's chatting it up with some of the wrestling greats, but really all you can do is just say, at least he's not in pain anymore. Now, if you guys want to help out, I know his son Travis and Travis's wife, they did put up a GoFundMe, and I'll actually put that up in the chat for you guys right now here. And then I think I should be able to just put in Paul Orndorff, and I'll just say GoFundMe. And I should be able to find the link here. See, right now I've got people that are just, GoFundMe had launched, but I want to see the actual link to GoFundMe. It's sad because all the wrestling dirt sheets are just spamming the GoFundMe, but I want to see the actual GoFundMe. Hang on, I'm looking at the link now. I'm just trying to open it up. Here we go. All right, so let's open this. Let me see here. Bear with me a second here. Interesting, interesting. Huh. Okay, so there were two. There were two that was running around. There was one that apparently Travis Orndorff had organized, but it's no longer accepting donations. This one was able to raise $11,000, over $11,000. So let me see, because there was one that Travis's wife had created. Paul Orndorff. Let's see here. Nothing. That's weird. Let me try one more thing, guys. Hang on, because I want to put the link up. Let's see here. Paul Orndorff. Actually, you know what? I can look at my my Twitter action from earlier today. Hang on. Okay, I was able to find it. All right, so this is the official one that you guys need to go to. And if you want to try to, for those of you that's going to maybe be listening to the audio version of this, the way you can find this, just go on GoFundMe's website and then just type in the keywords "Farewell, Mr. Wonderful." And when you type in "Farewell, Mr. Wonderful," I'm trying to see if it pops up here for you guys. Yeah, that's interesting. When you put in those keywords, it doesn't pop up. So this is literally a case where you definitely need to check out the link. So I'm going to post the link live now. And then in the episode description of this very episode, I'll have the link also be available for you guys to click on. But you'll know the one when you'll know the right one when you see it, because this one is created by Travis's wife, Travis Orndorff's wife, and her name is Amayu Smith. And so far as it stands right now, they've raised about over $6,000. Basically, they are trying to reach a goal of 15,000, and this is to help out with Paul's funeral expenses. So anybody that's able to contribute, definitely. If money's tight for you right now, totally understand it. You can do the next best thing, and you can pretty much just share the links all throughout social media. Before anybody asks, yes, I will be making a donation to his funeral expenses for sure. And when I do, you guys should know me by now. If I say I'm gonna do something, I always do it. If I'm able to show proof, I always show you guys the proof. So hopefully you guys will follow suit. Even if you just want to be anonymous about it, just, I'm sure the family will definitely appreciate that. All right, so other than that, I want to try to liven up the mood just a little bit more. Let me see how long we've actually been recording here so far. I think we're about to hit the 2-hour mark right now. Yeah, we're at about an hour 55. We had about 5 minutes of a delay there as I was getting everything together. So not really too much since last we were on the air with you guys. As far as other headlines that had came about, one big thing that had a lot of people kind of irritated was what's going on with these WWE specials that keep getting postponed. They saw what was going on with WWE icons Lex Luger. They also saw what was going on with a new Broken Skull sessions featuring Kevin Nash. What the hell is going on here? Well, PW Insider, they're reporting that the reason that multiple WWE Network specials have been postponed is due to changes in strategy and the release of original content on Peacock. And, it really shouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out, because when you really stop and think about it, just kind of use common sense and think about it for a second. Now, Granted, the Lex Luger Icon special, it would have made all the sense in the world to be released 4th of July weekend. Definitely on 4th of July. Would have made all the sense in the world. But for whatever respected reason, WWE felt, yeah, you know what, we just aren't really going to be able to get eyeballs on this as we should. It's the holiday. Yeah, it's the weekend. NBA Finals. Okay, so, all right, they pushed it back. Okay. Not for nothing, but we were supposed to have the Broken Skull session. I've always personally felt that where WWE shined the most when it comes to their original network programming is when they have it air immediately after a pay-per-view is over. I thought that's where they always shine the most, especially if they're trying to keep those WWE fans away from checking out podcasts that are not directly connected to WWE, meaning they're on WWE's payroll. I always felt that was, I don't like it, but I always felt that was a pretty good strategy from WWE because you're pretty much continuing to keep those fans in-house with your content. You're increasing that retention time and all of that by having them continue to stay tied into your network, your Peacock and all of that. So, look to hear that WWE is trying to get a better grip on when they're going to go about releasing original content for Peacock. They want to be very strategic. They want to be very smart about it. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. And I think really when y'all kind of just take a step back and think about it, I mean, look, I get it. If you were looking forward to some of these specials, I can definitely get, I can get the irritation because you're like, man, I can't wait to check this out. Been hearing a lot about it. Oh man, it's supposed to launch on a particular day. You up on there and you're looking for it. And, just imagine if that would have happened with Black Widow. Black Widow was supposed to drop last Friday. Hypothetically speaking, of course. And let's say Black Widow was supposed to drop Friday and then 3 a.m. East Coast time, you're like, all right, Black Widow. You don't see it yet. You're like, oh, well, maybe by noon. And it still ain't available. And then you hear that it's been postponed indefinitely and ain't going to be no future date release for quite some time on when that Black Widow movie is going to come out. Yeah, I can understand the irritation and the frustration for sure. So, but I think many people, like, you really take a step back. Like, you totally get this. And look, as we saw on SmackDown from this past week, despite the recent arrests, the DUI arrests of WWE superstar Jimmy Uso, our boy was heavily featured on the last Friday edition of SmackDown, despite the DUI arrests. WWE still has not released any official statement in regards to what all had went down with Jimmy Uso. They just, yeah. That is just crazy. That is crazy that as far as some type of disciplinary action, if any, has been taken at all, that's just crazy of what we're seeing right now. That's just one of those head scratching moments, and it just follows up on what we talked about last week, which is, when is enough gonna be enough? When is WWE going to put its foot down and say, nah, you know what, we got to show you some tough love. We don't want to get rid of you, but we do want you to get some help, and until you go get that help, we're keeping you off TV for this next little bit. Sends a bad message. It really does send a bad message, I personally feel. But yeah, WWE is going to be debuting their documentary Superfan, the story of Vladimir, at the LA Sports International Film Festival this coming weekend. The festival has announced that the film is going to be streaming as part of a documentary set beginning on July 16th. The documentary is going to be coming to Peacock later this summer. And pretty cool synopsis about this. Let me read it to you. It's pretty short. Superfan tells the life story of a Haitian immigrant with a deep connection to his first love, Vladimir. Oh, I cannot pronounce that last name. I'm not gonna try it. Came to Manhattan as a young boy with his mother and siblings and found his passion for living in professional wrestling. He was a mainstay for decades at Madison Square Garden, often caught by cameras, standing out as the most well-known fanatic in the history of WWE. So that I'm looking forward to checking that out. I gotta say, I'm looking forward to checking that out. That should be a pretty good special. Also Alexander Wolf, for those of you that might be curious, he is set to make his very first appearance since being released by the WWE. He's going to be appearing at the WXW 20th anniversary show. That's going to be going down on August 7th. Again, the WXW, it's a Germany promotion for those of you that's, wait, what? Yeah. August 7th at the Congress Centrum Stadium there. You can check out tickets online. Go check out the WXW Germany's promotion website and you can get all the information on that. See, other than that, yeah, that's relatively it. It's been, kind of quiet for the most part since last we were on air with you guys. But I'm just happy that we stayed on an extra couple of minutes, because the last thing I wanted to do was actually end the show on a Debbie Downer. You feel where I'm coming from? So hopefully we were kind of able to liven up the spirits there a little bit. So look, as far as programming notes go, heads up, next edition of the RCWR show, we're going to be coming at you Tuesday night, 7:05 p.m. Eastern, after NWA Power goes off the air. So you're a fan of the NWA product, want to talk all things NWA, I'll be on live all throughout the usual platforms, and we'll be talking NWA. And then Wednesday, we'll be on after AEW Dynamite goes off the air. We'll talk NXT, we'll talk AEW Dynamite, we'll also talk AEW Dark, Dark Elevation, we'll talk Impact, because remember, Impact, they got their Slammiversary pay-per-view that's going to be coming up this weekend, so we'll take a look at that card, see how that's doing. We'll also look at the Money in the Bank card. So a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing. I'm debating on whether or not, as far as a Friday show goes, I'm debating whether or not we come on after SmackDown and do a predictions edition of the RCWR show covering Slammiversary and Money in the Bank. I'm debating on that. Maybe I'll make a poll, and I think that's actually what I'm going to do. First thing Tuesday morning, afternoon, I'm going to make a poll asking you guys, hey, what's up? So when you see that poll, it's going to be on YouTube, youtube.com/ the RCWR show, and click on the communities tab and cast your vote and let me know if you guys want a Friday night show, if you guys want a Friday night show or maybe a Saturday night show covering predictions and all that, right? That's how we'll do it. Oh yeah, let me show some love to some of you guys that had left some comments. I was kind of seeing off and on throughout the night what some of you guys were saying. Yeah, Tony C. Yeah, Mr. Wonderful. Yep, passed away. Eric, what's good? I don't watch wrestling anymore, but I used to. Then I guess you're trying to say tune into your channel 5 years ago. Who's the WWE champ? Well, we got a whole bunch of champions that's running around right now, so I think you got to be a little bit more specific, Eric, about who's the champion, because you're talking about 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, I'm trying to think if there were a separate set of champions 5 years ago. I'm trying to remember if there was. My mind's a little fuzzy right now. I'm kind of leaning towards, but yeah, I would say Wikipedia, man, Wikipedia, and get the list of the WWE champions that way. it's so crazy. It's and I no disrespect to Eric, I don't even recognize that handle. Sadly, I don't recognize that handle. I recognize those that are regular, folks and all of that. It's always funny hearing from people that at one point were tuned into the product and then something had happened, they tuned out, and it's always weird when I hear comments like that. Always weird. It reminds me, I was seeing some comments earlier today in the Discord where people were talking about how, why watch something, when it sucks, blah this, blah that, and it's kind of one of those. Well, look, if you're a fan, especially if you're a diehard fan of that particular wrestling promotion, that particular product, you're going to be there from the good times, the bad times. You're always going to be there no matter what. You're going to find some type of good in what you're watching of that promotion on a week-to-week basis. And then you just got those that honestly, they just grow out of it. They outgrow it. It happens for some people. Every particular moment, hobby, love interest, you name it, has a respected season, and they outgrow it and move on to other things. It happens. It happens. Let me tell you something. I've got listeners who, when they began listening to me, they were in high school. They were in high school. So some of them have now either gone on to college, some even finished college, got a nice career, married, and or has kids now. I've been at this for 10 years. It's officially 10 years. We're all year long, we're celebrating 10 years of the RCWR show, but officially the anniversary is in November. But yeah, 10 years. That's yeah. It's amazing to see some people, they kind of come in and out. It's always crazy. It puts a smile on my face because there's some names that I recognize, and it's like, yes, it's like I remember. Yeah. All right, so where are we at now? I'm gonna stick a fork in it. We're gonna call this show DONE done. You got about just a couple of minutes past 2 hours, so we're good. Again, Tuesday, NWA Power. Check that out. We got our Power Reaction Edition post show. That's gonna be pretty solid. And I already told you what's gonna be going down with Wednesday's RCWR show. Please do me a solid one more time as you guys get ready to make your exits. Kindly leave that like. That pushes out our content more to the YouTube people, letting them know that, and for you guys that's listening on demand and on the downloads, do try to represent if you are around live when the show is usually live during the week, and hang out in the fucking chat and all that. It's pretty cool. I have been asked so many times over the past 10 years, what does RCWR show stand for? And I always give a bullshit answer. I never tell the truth. Never. The only time I will tell the truth of what the RCWR show stands for is on the final show when I'm done doing podcasting, at least covering just primarily wrestling and other stuff. But I think the day I decide, I made this up a long time ago. Wifey will tell you. I said, what would be kind of cool? She's like, what? It's like, I know that I'm going to get asked, what does RCWR stand for? She's like, okay, and what does it stand for? So she knows what it stands for. And I told her, I said, we're just going to have a running gag. Every single time somebody asks me, what does RCWR stand for? We're either going to dodge the question or we're just going to make up some stupid little shit, but we're never going to tell them the real answer. We're going to tell them when it's the final show. Like when we know that I'm just done and look, I would love to continue to do this show forever personally, but I mean, we just don't know because by me taking up, trying to get my major in broadcast media and eventually transition into being a TV news reporter or trying to be a syndicated, radio host, AM, FM, primarily FM or Sirius, I don't know if what I'm doing right now may conflict with ultimately, so I'll have to take that as it comes. But yeah, that's always been a running gag. So yeah, I appreciate you guys asking, but I love it. I love when I get asked that question, because it's like, I'll never tell, not until the final show. All right, so that's going to do it, guys. Get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. And until next go round, I'm wishing all of y'all to be safe, and most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Adios, y'all. Take care.